So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We hope that the next 30 minutes will provide you with lots of insights around what we believe and can see across the market is incredibly topical area of skills. So for those of you that haven't worked with Curve before or don't know who we are a leading provider of recruitment, HR, outsource and consultancy solutions in the UK. We offer, as I say, outsource, project or on-demand services, and we can either step into your business and be your HR and recruitment team, or we can provide kind of additional complementary skills and capacity when you have peaks in hiring. The lovely kind of thing that we can offer as an organisation is the fact that we do deliver everything across an employee life cycle. So many of our clients feed that back to us that actually it's really beneficial because they only have to engage with one external partner, which makes it a lot easier on their side. And finally, hopefully, and I'm sure it will come through during the webinar, but we are incredibly passionate about what we do and what we deliver at Curve, and our sort of shared purpose and quest is actually around kind of extraordinary people solutions that transform working lives. And we do wrap all of this together in terms of HR and recruitment expertise to deliver these webinars and try to sort of distill and share some of our knowledge. So we hope today is useful. Very quickly, before I introduce your webinar team, I just wanted to flash this up because we're very proud of what we have achieved over the last 20 or so years, and we have amassed a lovely collection of recognition and awards. And if you ever come to the Curvy offices, you will see our trophy cabinets sort of dotted around the building. So just like to share those really before we kick off. Now, before I hand over to our lovely webinar delivery team, I just want to do introductions quickly. So my name is Sam Pusey. I head up the marketing function at the Curve Group. I am joined today by Liam Reid, who is our head of recruitment operations, and the lovely Danny Hitchcock, our resource manager at the Curve Group, both of whom are frontline recruiting, both for outsource and on-demand customers and clients. So they really are the experts in this field. I'm just here to host you. So like I say, I'll keep an eye on the Q&A facility, answer any questions that you've got throughout. Otherwise, I'll be handing over to both of them shortly. And in terms of what we're going to cover today, it's only a half-an-hour webinar, so nice and short and punchy, but we kind of want to talk about skills in quite a broad sense. So we're going to talk about the benefit of skills in both recruitment and also retention. And we've split the webinar into 4 different sections to cover that. So we're going to start, I'm going to hand over to Liam, and he will talk about, kind of setting the scene around why skills are so very important. And then we'll hand over to Danny, and she will explain how you would go about conducting a skills gap analysis in your business to identify those key skills that you need when you're recruiting. Then it's back to Liam, who will take us through a very practical step implementation sort of plan on how you would actually execute embedding a skills-based hiring approach in your organisation, along with a live example of the difference that can actually make in terms of the size and the scope and diversity of your talent pool. And then finally, we'll hand back over to Danny, who's going to talk a little bit more around actually using all of that lovely skills data and how it can be harnessed to actually create some really great kind of meaningful learning and development pathways for your employees so that you improve your retention and you're not just constantly going around in a recruitment cycle. So I hope that looks good. Please bear with us today. If you've got any questions, like I say, pop them in the box. Otherwise, I shall hand over to Liam.
Thanks, Sam. So I just wanted to start really by defining what we mean by a skills-first approach. A skills-first approach to talent management emphasises a person's skills and competencies rather than the degrees, job histories and titles, focusing directly on skills rather than how they're acquired to democratise access to economic opportunities and pathways. So roughly since about 2015, skill sets for jobs have changed by approximately 25%. And by 2027, it's expected to double. So again, it's just highlighting further that skills are going to be the new currency for the labour market rather than degrees, job titles and job histories. I'm not going to go through every stat here, but I really want to pick out the relevant ones that I think are really going to hit well with this audience. The first one I want to bring to your attention is skills to the far right. Skills first hiring is predicted to be a priority for 79% of UK businesses in the next 18 months. So my plea to you is don't be late to the party. Don't miss out on the talent. If you really are wanting to impact on this, then act now. I think the second point fits in well with that, is that actually employers acquiring talent using skills first are 60% more likely to be successful in the recruitment. Now, Danny's going to come on to it a bit later, but it's really important that you've mapped out the skill sets that you have in your business first and foremost, so then you know where your skill gaps are, but also that you've identified the SMEs. Now I'm going to be putting my recruiter head on, and my recruiter hat on, my headhunter hat on. 1 million skills are added to LinkedIn profiles on a daily basis. And if we search via skills on LinkedIn, our talent pool will increase by up to 20 times the amount versus a search that we did through job titles. So if you haven't already exhausted that as a business, upskill your recruiters to start searching via skills, because 60% of recruiters out there that aren't doing that currently. So why a skills first approach is the future for recruitment? Well, as you can see, 91% of the businesses are now focusing on mapping employee skills in order to make informed talent decisions. But let's look at why this is the future. So if we look at it from a recruitment perspective, it's going to increase your talent pool. So I'll come on to a live example a bit later on, but if you're doing a search via a skill, again, we're coming back to that statistic, you're 20 times likely to find more suitable candidates. It's going to improve diversity of your shortlist. You know full well that certain females, certain males don't like applying for certain jobs, but if you're skill-based searching, you're going to open your talent pool to a wider audience. And I'll come on to it a bit later, but there's a great feature that LinkedIn have started to push out to increase diversity when you are running your searches. It improves better candidate matches, transferable skills across the organization, and fundamentally what I think comes in hand with what we're going to be discussing in a moment is improved retention. So I think these two work in correlation to each other really, but why it's going to be the future is that we can make meaningful L&D programs to our teams, and we can shape personalized learning journeys. So what we mean by that is we've identified a skill that we haven't got in the organization. We've identified SMEs in our organization, and we can utilize their skill sets to upskill people within our organization for them key skills that we're lacking. It enables succession planning and rising stars, and it gives a great opportunity to increase internal mobility across the organization. I'm just going to pass over to Danny, who's going to talk us through the skill gap analysis.
Thank you. So what is a skills gap analysis then? So a skills gap analysis is a technique used to measure the gap between the skills a business needs to achieve its goals and the skills currently acquired by the individuals working there. Undertaking this will also inform your hiring strategies in terms of core and future skills required to meet your business objectives. So moving on to top tips for conducting a skills gap analysis. First of all, you'll need to have an appetite within the business. Positioning not only with senior stakeholders, but with all of your employees first and foremost is key. Explaining why it's being completed and how it will benefit them to ensure full buy-in. Take the time to segment and create the framework. For example, split into core competencies, hard and soft skills, systems and processes, awareness, and specialisms relating to the industry sector. Once you're in a position where you feel you've captured the relevant skills, remember, don't go too big too quickly. Try sampling a portion of your employees first, possibly focus on an area of your business that has the greatest recruitment requirements. Don't be afraid to trial and adapt your approach. Ensure that you create a clear communication plan to the business, clearly state timely deadlines, whilst also ensuring that you allow sufficient time to complete, provide clear instructions as part of the rollout, and identify the key scoring criteria. It is key to ensure that you create a forum for employees to ask questions for any areas that they do not understand. This will ensure the consistency of approach and accuracy upon the completion. Once completed, remember that these initial results are to be used as a guide only. Use them as a conversation starter and then delve further. Question reasons, add an opinion during employees one-to-ones. Finally, what really is key to remember is that as a business, you need to commit to using the results to drive employee performance forward. Understand that you will have to create tailored learning and development pathways for individuals. and recognise the gaps in skill sets within the team to inform on future hiring. So to summarise, conducting a skills gap analysis can be broken down into 6 key steps. Identify all known skills for roles in scope, identify skills required to deliver future business plans, create skills gap analysis framework, issue to employers with instructions, review completed versions with the team members, and then identify gaps, training needs, and inform on hiring strategies. I'll pass it back across to Liam.
Thanks, Danny. Moving on to skills first hiring, what I want to do now is to look at it from a practical perspective and try and give some examples as to what we've gone through as a business and how we can sort of offer our input into your area in your business. So Danny touched upon this already, but first and foremost, I think we need to look at the wider considerations. First and foremost, we need to get the buy-in from the business. We need to make sure that department, that business area is fully on board to move to a skills-based hiring approach. We then move over to identifying the key skills required, but what's also important, we need to separate those key skills from nice to have to essential. And what I like to do here is just give you a bit of a practical example of how we can do that. So let's say the Curve Group, we're looking for a recruitment business partner. We've mapped out all the skills for that recruitment business partner, all the roles and responsibilities for that recruitment business partner. And just as an example, I'm going to pick 2 core skills that I think they need to have. 1, effective stakeholder management, and 2, I want them to be able to manage the full end-to-end recruitment process. The nice to haves might be, I want somebody with Workday skills, and I might want somebody who's got strong Excel skills. But I've mapped out my organization, and I know full well I've already got a recruitment business partner within our department who's got strong Workday skills, who's got strong core Excel skills. So I know full well, but I might not want to recruit that. I can use their expertise later down the line for induction, training material, and I'm going to recruit the actually essential skills that I want to make a key hire. Moving on to point number 3, and I think this is really, I guess, a key point to making this a success, is updating the recruitment process to align with the skills first approach. And first and foremost, I think the biggest one is upskilling your hiring managers on their approach to interview and reviewing CVs. We're dismissing job histories, we're dismissing sort of job titles. We need to re-educate all of our hiring managers on what to look out for, from the soft skills to the core essential skills. And that's not going to happen overnight. So having a detailed plan to do that, sitting with your hiring managers to work through approaches is definitely key to a success. The next point I want to discuss is actually from an internal perspective. If we're recruiting for a skills-based role, we need to make sure that our recruiters are trained on skills-based searching, not only on LinkedIn, but also on other job boards. LinkedIn, I've definitely got better at giving us some nudges of how we can increase our diversity and how we can increase our talent pool when we are searching. So look out for them top tips that they often put out on their on your searches that you're already making. The next point is reviewing the collateral. So making sure that we haven't got must-haves, a degree in X, we must have X amount of experience in this. We want to try to make it skill specific. So updating job descriptions, removing degrees is key to make this a success. And just to finish before we go on to point 4, recruiters using skills first searches here 22% higher in mail acceptance. You're reaching a greater audience. You've got people who wouldn't necessarily apply for that vacancy that you would reach, but actually would really welcome a conversation about that opportunity. So it's really key, and it's going to, and again, this is why we're discussing it today, because it's so topical at the moment, and we really want to push that brand and push this out to our networks. So to tidy this slide up, what we need to definitely do then is update our induction and continual training. So what I mean by that, we've identified our SMEs within our organization. They can be subject matter experts in key areas to upskill certain recruiters, certain hiring managers, the skills that we haven't got. And what I would like to do to the finish is actually shout about the success after. So write a case study, use it as a bit of a learn if you feel like you've made mistakes. But I feel that these 4 points will really help when you are going to market for a skills-based hiring approach. What I want to do now is just look at a bit of a working example when we're looking at skills first. So just as an example, I've done a job title search for a credit analyst in London, kept it quite generic, and it's acquired 6,100 results. But if I was to search based off a skill for credit analysis in London, that's given me 15,000 results. So it's 145% increase on what we initially found. And yes, I know that we can really tailor this higher. We can look at functions, we can look at specific locations, we can look at competitors. But I just wanted to highlight, actually, if we're searching via skills, you are definitely reaching a wider audience and a wider talent pool. And I spoke to you a bit earlier about some of the nudges that LinkedIn are really pushing. And you can see here that they've said, if you include Hertfordshire, you're more likely to increase the diversity for female applications by 36%. If you had customers, you're likely to do it by 30%. So look out for these tools and look out for these nudges on LinkedIn, because it's going to really help you build your talent pool. And to finish, I'm moving over to Danny.
Fab, thank you. So before curating learning and development pathways to reinforce your skills first approach, it's so important to get buy-in and sponsors from your exec team on the concept, or it won't be sustainable. They need to recognise that time needs to be invested in creating and learning development pathways and content. Use the outputs of your skills gap analysis to really drive the L&D programme, ensuring that you continually review and evaluate that it is focused on building those missing skills. It can be quite overwhelming when starting something like this, so prioritise the strands of L&D which need the most attention first. This could mean focusing on an area which is causing repeat issues within your business, or an area where you need to build skills in order to deliver a new product or service you have committed to delivering. In order to help you prioritise, you might want to think about using a 9-box talent grid to map out all of your employees. This is something that we do have a separate webinar on. The grid is a great way to visually map all of your employees so you can see where you may have gaps in terms of team performance and capabilities. This in turn will help you to quickly identify where you need the L&D programs to focus, whether that's on performance management or succession planning and upskilling. For example, you may realise that you're lacking the internal L&D to support the talent development into leadership positions. With the outputs from this skills mapping exercise, you'll be able to create a program for future leaders with that exact skill sets, and you'll know what they'll need in order to excel. In terms of format for learning and development, whilst you can of course run intensive programs lasting days, weeks, or even months, try micro-learning. This enables your employees to expand their skill sets without a significant upfront time commitment, which may increase motivation for upskilling. Micro-learning content is typically under 50 minutes in length, allows your team members to complete learning session between meetings or even while sat in the doctor's office. As with all L&D training, it's important to keep it alive and ensure that it's regularly updated and improved based on feedback from participants. It's not a once done and done approach. So to conclude, take action now, don't be late to the party. Your competitors will already be doing this. Take your business on the journey, make that commitment to training and development from the top down. And most importantly, remember skills are changing fast, so be agile and keep reviewing, not just as a leadership team, but ask your employees' opinion. Is there anything they feel is missing? Do they think that they're getting out of it what they need?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danny, Liam. Very much appreciated.
That's okay.
That brings us to the end of our content now in the webinar. Thank you everyone for staying with us. I'm just going to have a look quickly and see if we've got any questions that have come through during the session. I can't see anything yet, but I will hop on to the next slide. And if you've got anything, feel free to still pop that in because we've still got a little bit of time. As I mentioned at the beginning, I did promise that we'd be sharing contact details again. So if you do want to take any of your questions offline, or if you reflect on anything we've said this evening and you want to kind of talk about it further with any of the team from tomorrow onwards, do please reach out. We're, as you can probably tell, quite invested in this area, very passionate about it. We're doing it ourselves internally, and we're really trying to bring our customers on the journey as well, and our network. So do feel free to get in touch. So over to me then, just to wrap up the webinar. I do hope it was really helpful. In terms of how we can support your organisations and your businesses, we can, as you may have guessed, step in to really support you to deliver that skills gap analysis if you need another pair of hands, because it is quite a project. And also this sort of talent 9-box mapping piece, talent assessment, succession planning. And then of course we can also support you in terms of actually implementing that skills first hiring approach. So whether that's on an on-demand basis for 1 or 2 hires as and when you need it, which you might be struggling with traditional recruitment methodologies, whether it's a project for a defined number of hires, or if you'd like to have a conversation about a broader and longer term outsource relationship, just let us know. And then final slide from me, I'd like to leave you all with just a little bit of a forward-looking view of the future webinars which we've got coming up, which will take us through to September. So in June, we'll be talking about dropout rates, and I'm sure everyone that's here today will also be very interested in that topic. And actually some of this has got to do with sort of a skills first approach and analysing kind of that process through recruitment. Then we move to July, when we're going to be talking about employer brand again. It's a topic that's very close to my heart, and we've covered it many times in previous workshops and webinars, but the lens we're going to put on the session this time is actually around that sort of multi-generational workforce scope, and really helping to kind of get everyone understanding that there are different levers, motivators, and kind of ways of engaging workforces across the generation. And then finally in September, we're going to have a webinar which is going to be a deep dive around exceptional candidate experiences. All of our previous webinars that we've recorded are available on our insights page on the website. You will get an email within the next 24-36 hours with a link to the recording of this webinar. So do feel free to go back and watch that at any point. And again, if you've got any questions, please just let us know and get in touch. So all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for joining us today. I hope it was useful. I hope it provoked some thoughts, and very best of luck with implementing skills first hiring in your organisations. Thank you. Have a good day.